Welcome to Chick Chat with Unapologetically Karen, the podcast for women by women. I'm Karen Webb, architect, author, entrepreneur, creative junkie, and your host. Chick Chat is your resource for building your big, bold, and beautiful feminine life. So join me for some eye-opening and jaw-dropping dialogue that has people talking. Welcome back to Chick Chat. Today I have my guest, Stefanie Wilson. She is often described as a grounded, humorous, and no-nonsense Texas woman. I love that. She is known for her very dynamic career path, which has included in it a decade of experience in broadcast marketing, a background as a radio and TV personality, and a successful stint as a real estate broker. Now at 50, she has some advice for those of us, I'm sure there's many, who excel but may find themselves and their lives derailed. Welcome to our show. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I appreciate it. I'm a super fan of Chick Chat, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. We love to help women thrive in whatever part of their life, they might need. So let's start. Tell me, well, you did have some big derailment. Set us up before that, kind of what you were doing, and then when we got to this kind of crossroads for you.
Thank you so much. It all led down, I think it snuck up on me. I started out in broadcasting. I had 3 young boys, found myself divorced and being the main breadwinner. So
Wow.
There was always that stress in my late 20s, early 30s. I would like to think that I was very successful in it. And at that point, I believe that the derailment of alcohol abuse sort of started seeping in over time. When I remarried, it was to a much older man, and there was a higher society. It was very country club, golf. I was president of the ladies group. Now I had teenage boys. And the social demands and the real estate demands were brewing, and I didn't notice it because I never slowed down and really said internally, what is going on, Stefanie? You seem happy, but you're not happy. And I believe the biggest lie was the one I was telling myself was, on paper, you've got it all, right? Everything's good. So talking about not being good was I felt like not appropriate because there was people really struggling. And
right.
So
you feel like you're just complaining then, right? You feel like you're ungrateful and complaining, but there's many of us that don't have that happiness, but on the outside, we look like we've got it all together. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And that marriage ended in a really bad divorce. So much so that I lost my 13,000 square foot home, my real estate broker job. I lost my friends at the country club. Unfortunately, didn't follow, someone that maybe starts all over. So I felt at the end of the day, I was in a rental home. I had 2 kids at home, and I had to figure out exactly what to do again after here to here within a matter of 6 weeks. And so Back in broadcasting, I worked for NBC and Fox here in San Antonio, kind of went back to what I knew. The whole time, the whole thing was the wine. I needed it to relax, then to have a good day, to celebrate, a bad day. There was always a reason.
Now, let me ask you first before that then. So before your first divorce, did you drink wine regularly or no?
Not at all.
Okay. So kind of like what started it would have been like the stress of the first divorce. And then did it become a need or a habit? What do you think?
It was a habit that turned into a need.
Interesting. Okay.
It was a habit that I didn't recognize. And then it turned into, if I don't have this to unwind my day, it's not good. I'm going to have anxiety attack. I'm not going to be able to sleep. When in fact, that was the reason I wasn't sleeping well. And that was the reason I was having a hard time in the day. So you start that circle, right? I need a
Yes.
drink for this because it'll solve the problem, when in fact it was creating way more problems than I
Okay. Okay.
recognized at the time.
And so, and that you called that the wine witch, right?
Mhm.
Clarify that a little bit. What does that mean?
It's that voice in your head that I would hear around 3:30 or 4 that would say, "Hey, let's relax. Let's wind our day down. If you've had a great day, you've had a bad day." There was always an answer, and that was always the answer. And it's commercialized. It's seen as okay. It's very accepted in social settings. You go anywhere and you can get a glass of wine or a beer. You can anywhere these days. It's not like it used to be. So it seemed okay. And for a lot of
Right.
people it is, but not for the way I tick and my personality. So then
So
it
what
turned
did you
into needing it.
notice? Yeah. So was there a moment that you noticed it? And what do you think is different for you? Because there's a lot of people, right, that, you know, have that glass of wine end of the day and you're saying it's okay for them. Where is that difference? How does one know?
I knew when it turned physical.
Mm.
When I didn't drink, I had horrible headaches, and it was a 3 a.m. wake up of, wow, that I don't feel good. I feel crappy. I'm not drinking today, and then by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I don't feel that bad. I'm going to have a drink. So when I felt like I couldn't control it, that it was just something that I didn't want to do in the beginning of the day and I did at the end of every day, I knew it was a problem. I'm smart enough to know that. So that's when I went, what do I do now? How do I
Right.
how do I stop? And how do I go out to eat, not get a drink? How do I socialize? How do I date? How do I do anything without that narrative? And that's scary. It's really scary to think.
That's so true because our culture does kind of, I mean, that's why they call it happy hour, right? So, and happy hour is like 3 o'clock on. It's not just an hour, is it? So what did you do and how hard was it?
It was super hard. I
Hmm.
Once I got the physical and detox, got the poison out of me, is what I say. And it wasn't a physical, shaky, like sweaty, I need a drink. That was gone. I had detoxed. The hardest part was the mental part. And I I wasn't exposed to alcoholism at all in my family. My parents didn't have any liquor in the house. So I didn't have a reference point, and I don't have a sibling. I don't have anyone in my life that was an alcoholic. So it was hard to admit it. But I will tell you, the biggest lie was to myself. So I had a conversation. Okay, Stephanie, you're smart.
Hmm.
You know you're lying. You know you have a problem. You know you're sneaking drinks. You know you are. You're drinking before you go out to drink. So
Mm,
quit
I
lying to
see.
yourself. And humble, I had to drop the ego. I had to just confess to my family, to my friends, that, yeah, they would say, "Wow, we didn't know that you had a problem." And where, really, really? Because I hid it. I was very well. I would say I was not functioning, but I looked like I was a functioning alcoholic, but I really wasn't. And
Right.
it wasn't a good look, and I wasn't proud of it. I joined a sober community of like-minded sober sisters, and I read Quit Lit books, The Naked Mind, a lot of books. Really try to understand the why first, and
Hmm.
just a day at a time, one day at a time. So,
Right. Okay. So at first, it sounds like at first you went through the physical kind of withdrawal. So yeah, you
mhm,
must have been. How much would you say you were drinking? I know, and the reason I'm asking these very particulars is because I think there's a lot of people who drink daily, and
mhm,
yet, I mean, I will say I have a glass of wine at the end of the day, but
mhm.
I don't, but so that's why I'm curious. People always want to know, where was that line for you? So did you drink every day? Was it something that, so you were craving it? Your
Yes, and
body
I
was
drank every
physically,
day. Wasn't a drink, it would be a bottle. It may be two
oh, I
bottles of
see.
wine a day. And then it would be planning your days around the drinking. So
Mm,
you go on vacation or you want to just go out to eat. Do they have wine there? Well, I don't want to go if they don't have wine.
I
And
see.
you realize your choices are based around where they serve wine, and it didn't feel good. I knew it wasn't
Yeah,
right, but it didn't seem, because you see the ads and I have friends and that's all part of the party and it's summer and it's pool time. And so you're going, well, wait a minute, is this right or wrong? You're getting mixed signals. Everybody's
absolutely.
different. My body
Absolutely.
could not handle it. My body was like, nope, girl, this isn't
Yeah.
you. You can't tolerate it. And your
Yeah. It
liver
sounds
will
like
just,
it became so ultra important that it got too big.
it did. It
Um,
was a mental space in my head that I would
wow.
not think about people, family. I was thinking about the job, working and drinking, and how that would all work together every day. That's when
Wow.
it was a
Okay.
problem.
Okay. That's really helpful, I think, for people. That really kind of, pins it down.
Mhm.
Um, so now let me ask you, so once you did that, how hard was it? So you told your friends, et cetera.
Mhm.
Did you have to avoid going out with them for a while, or how did you, because I think that becomes, it's sort of like too tempting, I would think.
Yeah, I did for a while. And I will say it was during COVID. So that was a blessing for me because
Right.
I was stuck inside and couldn't really go out and get it. And so I would say I did avoid some social events for a while and going out to eat for a while until I felt comfortable enough. But every time that I did go out and I didn't drink, I had my Diet Coke, which became a big thing, and my coffee. And I came home. I was so proud of myself. It was
Oh,
sounded
that's so good.
stupid for most people, but for me, it was like, that's a win. I went today. I did all these events. I came home. I remember everything. I feel great in the mornings. So hang on to the positive reactions, and just grind through the day of the negative, or the day of the temptations that you have
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are just in our society, with alcohol being just so advertised and
Oh, it is.
known.
It's interesting though, because I have seen, this current trend of people choosing a sober lifestyle. A lot
Hmm.
of celebrities right now. I don't know if it has to do, I personally think it has somewhat to do with the whole Ozempic. They're on that. And supposedly, I have um, a friend who was on that, and she was like, you just don't want to drink at all. So I don't know if that kind of is what led to it, but I'm not sure. But there's definitely a trend, I think, of moving towards a more sober lifestyle. Have you
Yeah,
have you felt that?
I have. And I was so excited. Saturday, we went out to a restaurant that's new in San Antonio, and I asked for a Heineken Zero. The NA beers are really good. And they said, oh, we're
Yes.
sold out. And I said, yay, I love that. Because most of
Wow.
the time they're expired or they're in the back. It's an O'Doul's, which nothing bad about O'Doul's. But now you've got Corona with the Zero,
Yep.
Heineken. They're all getting on board. They taste great, they're alcohol free, but it's refreshing. But lots of people are starting to buy them. Corona's hard to find now, and it
Yes.
is trendy, which is a great trend. I would
It
like to
is a good
think
trend.
it's a lifestyle change for me. Everyone's different, but I enjoy just all of the positive things that have happened in my life, the doors that have opened up for me, that I've been able to not spend time drinking wine and hanging out with friends and thinking about how I can help my young adult children, how I can help my parents that are getting elderly. I'm just way more focused, and I wouldn't go back. And I don't think moderation works. I've had a lot of people say that, and it didn't for me. You moderate,
Hmm.
but then you're like, "Ew, I have to stop now." And then you've got a mental, you're mad
Yeah.
because you have to
Yeah. And I
stop.
do
It's like
think,
either do it or don't do it, but don't
right,
middle
right,
ground it.
right. Because it's a slippery slope. And I do think that, from what I've heard from some people who have gone down that path to become sober, it's like if you wake up the next day and you feel bad about it and you are down on yourself and you are, you just feel like you've blown it, or there's all this self-esteem issues that hit
Yeah,
you that next day about it, then it definitely has too much of a hold on you. That is
for
for
sure.
sure.
For
And
sure.
how I know that so once you did that, did how did life kind of change for you in terms of, did work become easier, personal life or professional or both?
I think everything stayed the same but me and how I looked at
Hmm.
it. I had a really big, horrible incident in my life, in my family, that hit me in my early sobriety. And I know everybody was going, how is Stephanie going to deal with this? Uh-oh. People were calling, you'll
Mm.
be okay. And I thought, I'm going to grind through it. And I call it sitting in the suck. But I sat in my feelings and I just let it just be terrible and feel terrible. But I didn't
Can
go
you share
back.
what that can you share what that was with us?
It was the loss of someone in my family that was
Oh
very
gosh.
important to my upbringing. My grandmother was just so involved in my life and nurturing
Mm.
and kind of that inspiration. And when she passed, it was like, oh no, that's my girl, and
Yes,
the
yes,
girl's gone
yes.
and now it's me. So that was really hard, but not so hard that I would go back to doing
That's
that.
good.
Mhm.
Right. And sometimes it is that first kind of obstacle you hit while you're on the road towards, making or changing a habit, that,
Right,
yeah, that can throw you right back to it. So that's really remarkable.
right.
And it sounds like she was your rock. So
Mhm.
when that goes, yeah, that can be really traumatic. Um, definitely. What do you say to people so there's so many people who might be just kind of going along, and their professional life is great. And then they hit some personal struggles, such as you have. I've been divorced as well. I know it can really derail. I mean, it can really derail your life emotionally. You feel betrayed. It's emotions that are going crazy, but it's also more than that. It's identity and finances and, just logistics. Everything gets thrown into chaos. Um, what do you say to people to keep their life kind of balanced and on track when they hit such a big challenge or obstacle in their personal life?
To make sure that they talk to themselves. We are our
Hmm.
own friend. If
Yes.
if we can be our best friend, then we can help and be other people's friends. And I know it sounds a little cliche, and I don't mean it to, but seriously, I would sit down and say like, okay, this is terrible, and I would write it, and I would go, okay, how do I feel about it? Can I do anything about it? No. Would drinking help it? No, no. It would create like a lot of other bad things. So I figured out internally how to respond to things. There's always a voice, I will say, in any one that has addiction in their head, a little voice
Yep.
that says, "Oh, you've been sober for so long, you could have one or two."
Mm.
Always, there's always that voice. Or you know what? No one would blame you for drinking right now, so go have a drink.
Ah, I
It's
see.
that it's
Yes.
that bad Stephanie voice, and I recognize it, and I say, "Okay, shut up and go away." And if you
Yes.
fight that, then you don't have a problem. But it will always talk to you if you have that addictive type personality. There's that bad friend telling you, and
Yes.
you have to just say no. I'm not doing it, and fight it internally. It's hard, but
And
it
how long have you been sober?
about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Yeah.
thank you.
I know I do feel like, so we all definitely have that friend in us, which is really our intuition. That's the voice that's very knowing, but you're right. There's that little culprit that sits on our shoulder that wants to like steer us off track. Um, and knowing the difference between the two, I always find to be the most helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I always say that the one that's pushing you towards not the best choices is usually a kind of fast talking, higher pitched, oh, come on, you can do it. It's fine, And then the intuitive voice is it's a deeper voice. It's very calm. It's slower. But yeah, I could see where it would be, it could be tempting to listen to the wrong voice.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So of all of your career, directions that you've gone in, what are you doing today? Like where has your career gone to today?
I love today. I love 50 because I had a lot of things I wanted to do that I've put off or spent time working on myself. The most wonderful thing is I'm a grandmother for the first time,
Oh,
and she's 2 weeks old.
congratulations.
She's 2 weeks old. She's very fresh and lovely. So that's really important to me. But I do
Oh, yeah.
podcast guesting. I do some voiceover acting, which is interesting and fun and something I
Yeah.
didn't think I would do. I work as an IT consultant and I'm still a real estate broker. So a lot of different things that keep me active and busy.
Yes. The grandparent role, I know that well. In fact, my daughter just delivered her second last week. So I just came back
Yay.
from the birth. Yes,
Oh, it's so great.
it's fantastic. And between the new baby, Miles, and then Jackson, it's like, God, who I wish someone would have told me being a grandparent is the best gig there is. It's like so fun, so fulfilling. And then you don't have to really be in charge of raising them, which is a lot and hard.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sure is.
most definitely. Um, yeah, absolutely. So now let's say when you do go out with friends and they drink and you don't, has that been a struggle, or at what point, how did you kind of turn that leaf? How did that, or turn that corner, I should say?
I went out with a plan in the beginning. I would say, I know I'm going to this restaurant. I know they're going to be drinking, and I know I'm not. So, what am I going to order to drink? And
Hmm.
went through the scenario. The biggest thing was to play it forward. Okay, let's say you go. Let's say you drink and drink and drink. How are you going to feel later tonight? You're going to wake up in the morning and you just blew your sobriety over what? Going out to eat? That's stupid. So
Hmm.
play it
Hmm.
forward. How are you going to feel? Who are you going to let down? And it doesn't look so good anymore. It takes a
Right.
while.
Yeah.
It's easy now, but in the beginning, I had to say, oh, okay, so I'm going to just sit here and play it forward. While they're all going to feel bad, I'm not going to feel bad tomorrow. I'm going to feel good tomorrow. So, and then you start to get a little bit of an ego where I thought, not always better than people, but like, I don't have to drink. I don't have a crutch. I
Right.
went through that phase for a little bit. It worked,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
kind of now calmer, kind of found that even ground of it. So,
Yes. And I think there's so many mocktails out there too that
yeah,
make it so that you can have a fun drink, but it doesn't have to be with alcohol. So,
right.
I
Exactly.
think you're right. Between the zero beers, I just need them to come out with a beer that's zero and gluten free. That's the problem.
Oh, now
that's
that's a trifecta
that's the
right there.
problem. Yes. So when that comes out, I'll be super excited. But
Yeah.
yeah, so far they don't have that. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. If people want to reach out to you to talk more personally about your story, about your journey on this, what's the best way for them, through social media or email? What do you recommend?
I'm on Instagram at Media Girl Live, and you can always message me direct. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who had a drinking
Hmm.
problem that works through it, and I hope I can help others through it, through questions, answers, the best that I can, because I know I appreciated the help that I got when I was sober curious, I guess you could say.
Yes, yes. No, I think that's helpful because having someone that's already navigated it, knowing the pitfalls, knowing, the kind of the trajectory of how it's going to go, especially when they're in the real tough part, that can be
Yeah,
a lifeline for sure.
for sure.
So, Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people.
Well, thank you for doing your podcast. It really helps the females out there that need to talk. So your chick chat's
Yes, right.
really
We
good.
we I think we go through a lot of changes as females, more so than men do. And that just has to do with having children, I think. But yes, it is helpful. So for all you listeners out there, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And we will see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Thank you.